This week I have 4 great stories for you. One is about an announcement about some funding that's going to be put into endangered species research in Australia. Second story is about the Norfolk Island Green Parrot, which is one of those species. The Red Goshawk, a very rare and cryptic bird of northern Australia. And finally I'll be talking about common sandpipers here at the wetlands at Isabella Plains. Hi, I'm Neil Hermes and welcome to my weekly bird wrap, which I'm bringing to you this week from Isabella Ponds, just in the south of Canberra. A great spot for bird watching, a great spot for wetland birds. And I've been trying to get some photographs today of a rare bird that turns up here every season, which is the common sandpiper. But back to that story at the end of the wrap. My first story today is about funding that the federal government in Australia has put into projects to look at methods to manage 20 different species of endangered species in Australia over the next year. There's going to be lots of opportunities for community groups to actually do really interesting work with a whole range of species, from Christmas Island with the goshawk to Norfolk Island and the green parrot, King Island and the thornbill, the brown thornbill that occurs on King Island. A whole range of species that occur across inland Australia and more arid parts of Australia, like the princess parrot, like the plains wanderer, like the night parrot, which I've done stories on before, and the malleefowl. So this is exciting funding, and it's going to be producing interesting projects which I hope to be able to visit during the course of the next 12 months and bring you stories about those activities, which could include satellite tracking, the use of remote cameras and the like. Really interesting work, really valuable work for those endangered species in Australia. My second story today is about the Norfolk Island Green Parrot, which is one of those endangered species that may get some funding next year to help build the numbers. The Norfolk Island Green Parrot is a bird I know very well. Back in the 1980s, there was less than 20 of these birds left. And over the last couple of decades, the numbers have been built up by very hard work by many people on Norfolk Island to perhaps around 200 birds. There's still more work to be done to secure that species, and one of the projects they're looking at is releasing some individuals on an offshore island where they'll be away from dangerous predators like feral cats and rats and crimson rosellas. So that's a project that I'll be watching very carefully, and one that I'll hopefully be looking at on my trip there in September in 2022. My third story today is about the Red Goshawk. Now, the Red Goshawk is one of Australia's enigmatic birds. It is solitary, it is hard to find. It occurs in an area of forest between about Brisbane and Broome in Western Australia. It occurs in small numbers over vast areas of country, very hard to see. A spectacular bird, a bright rufusy coloured hawk. It has dark patches on the feathers on its back. A very distinctive, large goshawk-like bird. These birds, of course, eat other birds, and they hunt by sitting still in trees and then launching out and capturing small birds in the forest. So you don't see them soaring overhead much. They're still, they sit in the forest, very hard to see. And the Australian Wildlife Conservancy is doing a lot of work on Cape York to try and find out more about our red goshawks. And you'll see in the clips attached to this wrap some of the photographs and some of the interesting stories around some of the tracking that's being done with satellite tracking of the red goshawks in Cape York and in Northern Territory. Before I go to my last story today, which is about the common sandpiper, which occurs here at Isabella Plains, and I've been trying to get some photographs of it today, I'd just like to make 2 other quick call-outs. One is, of course, the Eleanor's falcon, which I love and is an interesting bird for me, one of my bucket list birds. They're now leaving the Mediterranean after having fed their chicks on all the migratory birds coming out of Europe at the end of their autumn. And now the Eleanor's falcons are joining the migration, and they're leaving the little islands off Italy, off Spain, off Greece, and off Malta. And they're heading south across Africa, and they'll end up spending their summer in Madagascar. And they're all leaving this week, at the end of October, early November, so they're off. The other quick point I would make is I have a Ask Neil page on my website, and you can send me questions about things that you've seen. And last week I had a call out from a Joe who asked me about coals, And I put a little story up last week in my wrap. So thank you, Joe, for putting in that story. And anyone else who wants to send in a question for me, I'll happily answer it either by email or perhaps through my wrap. So to my last story today about the common sandpipers. They occur here on this wetland, which is an artificial wetland created in southern Canberra to protect the river course of the Murrumbidgee and the Murray. This has been built to trap the water that comes off the suburbs. But in doing that, they've created this wonderful wetland, which is attracting a whole range of species. Just here this morning, I've seen a pair of black ducks with 8 chicks. I can see a whole bunch of hardheads out there. I can hear a grass bird calling behind me. And of course, this is a location where some of the endangered species that I was talking about before could occur. Birds like the Australasian bittern could occur in these reed beds here behind us. But the reason for being here today is to try and see the common sandpiper. Common sandpipers are extremely numerous. There's probably 3 million in the world. They breed right across northern Europe, northern Asia, right across to Japan and almost to Alaska. And in the summer months, they migrate south, large numbers into Africa, and smaller numbers down into Southeast Asia and into Australia, where a small number occur often in singles. They're a bird that will be inland. Typically shorebirds occur on coasts, but these birds seem to prefer these sorts of settings on riverbanks and farm dams. And we've had one common sandpiper, probably the same one, turning up every summer here in southern Canberra on this wetland, only to turn around and fly all the way back to find its mate somewhere in southern Russia or northern China each season. So I'm hoping I can see that bird here today and get some photographs. But the common sandpiper is one of those fascinating waders that occur in the northern hemisphere in the summer and in the southern hemisphere in our summer and migrate every year. So I'll head out now and see if I can get some photographs. Enjoy your birding.